Welcome into a new edition of Beyond the Arc here on High School Cube News. Brian Chimino along with Michael O'Brien of the Chicago Sun-Times. Top story, last week we previewed the big game in the Catholic League South Division, and that was number 2 St. Rita at number 4 Hales. And it turned out to be another quality win for St. Rita, 55-48 over Hales. And it wasn't Charles Matthews putting up big numbers, it was Armani Chaney again.
You know, this really wasn't a great performance from St. Rita. They didn't shoot well, their percentage wasn't good. They had a lot of turnovers, a ton, 16 or 17, and yet they still beat one of the best teams in the state on the road. It says so much about them as a team. They're just able to get through kind of tough matchups like this, and they did it without Miles Carter. They're 6'7", 6'8" post, and Hales has Johnny Fox. So that's a tough matchup to really kind of contain him without your guy Miles Carter, so you have to be impressed with what Rita did.
So St. Rita pretty much clinching the South Division in the Catholic League. North Division, a different story. St. Iggy, 1 game up on St. Joe's. We'll talk about that, though, later in the 5 Things to Watch video. But the snow, not the only thing to fall in Chicago this past week. St. Joe's all the way number 9, all the way down to number 25 after losing to Highland Park.
Yeah, you know, they lost in the last second to a good Highland Park team, but more importantly, they lost to Hinsdale Central last week without Matt Rafferty, and Hinsdale Central couldn't beat anybody without Rafferty this week. They picked up 2 bad losses. That kind of shows, you know, the quality of losses St. Joe's is getting, and you just, at this point, can't keep them high. You can't keep losing and keep up in the ranking. Frankly, they're lucky they stuck at 25, but you know, this team has so much upside. They could be one of the best teams in the state. It's far too early to give up on them. It's just early February, so we'll see if St. Joe's can right the ship against Iggy on Friday.
And one team that couldn't stick in the Super 25 is Hinsdale Central. They dropped completely out without Matt Rafferty for who knows how long.
Yeah, this is becoming maybe the saddest tale of the season. It was such a great story, Hinsdale Central. The fan base was behind them. They had this dynamic, fun team to watch that had a fairly easy road to Peoria. All the pieces were in place, and then Matt Rafferty breaks his hand, you know, their top player, and he probably isn't going to be back in time for the season. So we're going to see if they can recover. They do still have George Kiernan, the big guy who scored 30, you know, in that win over St. Joe's. They still have Jordan Bradshaw and some good role players, so they're still a good team, but really expectations have to be lowered.
Last week, we weren't really sure how the Public League was shaping up as we went into the playoffs, specifically in the Red West. Farragut and North Lawndale had a big game. Farragut winning 55-48, which is a big win, obviously, for that program because dropping down to the white could have been catastrophic.
Yeah, Wolf Nelson stays alive to fight again in the Red West. Westinghouse beat Collins, so they'll be coming up. They're a fun, interesting team with a lot of good young players, Westinghouse. And North Lawndale is going to drop down to the white. That's going to be difficult. We've seen what happened to Curie and Foreman this year. When they get dropped down, you just don't get talked about. You know, you don't play the best teams. So it's going to be a challenge for North Lawndale. However, there are rumors out there. There's always rumors in the CPS, but there are some rumors that maybe they're going to change the format of the conferences again. Maybe the red will become a little bit bigger, so that would help North Lawndale stay up. Who knows if that's going to happen or not, but there is some talk about it.
And to wrap up this edition of Beyond the Arc, a couple of teams hitting that 20-win milestone. We talk about Lake Forest and Geneva all the time, but what about Maine South, Central Suburban League powerhouse, along with Neuqua Valley?
Yeah, you know, these are 3 good teams that got the 20 wins. Geneva, I'll rip my own rankings. They're definitely the most overrated team based on resume. They don't have a quality win. I mean, there just isn't one. They lost to Neuqua Valley, they lost to St. Charles East, so they have 20 wins that are good, but none of them really to hang your hat on. Maine South is in sort of the same situation. Their best win is against Proviso East, a team that didn't have their coach at the time, so you got to worry about that. Proviso East has also picked up some tough losses. Neuqua Valley, though, their 20 wins, they're solid. You know, they've beaten West Aurora, they beat Bennett, they beat Bartlett, they beat Geneva, they've beaten some quality teams. So Neuqua Valley, they're not going to knock your socks off when you see them, but you have to be impressed with what they've done so far.
And a friendly reminder, our weekly edition of the No Shot Clock podcast with Michael O'Brien and Joe Henriksen, now available to download on your favorite podcast app. For Michael O'Brien, I'm Brian Chimino. We'll see you later in the week for a whole new 5 Things to Watch edition of Beyond the Arc.